Mockingbird and Liarbird by Raya Wakayami, Oneo 3. Chapter 10. Monday rolls around quicker than they expect. After spending the rest of the weekend recovering from the sports festival and texting back and forth, Izuku finds himself sliding into the car as usual, and the four set off for UA. No one brings up the sports festival, or the possibility of a transfer, which is both relieving and stressful, because all Izuku has been thinking about is the transfer. Mainly, that there might only be one spot open, and they'll have to decide who will get it. And while Izuku would gladly hand it over to Hitoshi in a heartbeat, it would still hurt to do so because he worked so hard to get to this point. He's also sure Hitoshi would do the same, and then neither would be able to decide who would get it. And there will be a stalemate, so neither could transfer in. Needless to say, his mind had been spiraling a bit. But the car ride is mostly quiet, like usual. Yamada has the radio turned on low and hums along to different songs that come up. Aizawa drinks his coffee and mostly watches the scenery pass by or talks with Yamada about work stuff. Hitoshi is a slumped mess next to him, both anxious and tired because of his insomnia flared up again, and Izuku feels like he is about to come out of his skin before they even find out if they made the cut or not. Aizawa and Yamada wave them off to get to class and head for the teacher's lounge, and Izuku drags a tired Hitoshi to their homeroom. The few already there clap at their arrival, and that at least wakes Hitoshi up enough. The other team flushes a bit, with Izuku at the sudden cheering and congratulations. They take their seats while they wait for Yamada to appear at the start of class, and try to calm their racing hearts. 15 minutes later, the man in question comes in with a few minutes to spare before the morning bell rings, and sets his stuff down with a grin as he hums a tune he heard on the radio that morning. "Morning, listeners!" he greets, and the few students that say hello to him. Izuku can feel how strung tight Hitoshi is behind him as Yamada quickly shuffles through some papers before he finally nods and looks right at them. "Midori-kun, Shinzo-kun, you've got a meeting with Nezu in 10 minutes. Best not be late and bring your things with you," he says with a grin, and they both jump up. The class is silent around them as they walk to the front and accept the hall passes. Yamada gives them a wink and an encouraging smile before shooing them from the room. Out in the hallway, after the door closes behind them, and the whispers break out, they quickly share a glance, and they set off a jog to get to Nezu's office within the time limit. Neither has been to Nezu's office before, but Izuku had memorized the main building's layout, so it's not hard to find the elevator to the right floor. It takes a moment to find the right door, and then Izuku forces himself to knock, stomach in knots and with butterflies trapped inside it. "Come in, Midori-kun, Shinzo-kun," Nezu's voice called out, and Izuku slides the door open. Inside is a large office with a desk and a computer set to fit the small mammal behind it. There are a few chairs in front of the desk, but off to the side is a pair of couches with a small coffee table set between them. An electric kettle is set on the table with cups already pulled out, and sitting on one of the couches with a knowing smile, Aizawa watches them enter. "Ah, good morning, boys. Sorry to make you wait. We had to make a few last minutes to finish things up before we could get this meeting off to the start," Nezu says with a smile and motions them towards the couch. "Take a seat. I'll be with you in just a moment," he says easily, and they both nod and do as directed. Nezu prints a few things off his computer, grabbing them out of the printer tray, and jumps down off his chair and walks over to take the seat next to Aizawa. "Tea?" he asks as he sets the paper face down on the table. Yes, please?" Izuku manages to get out a tight throat, and Hitoshi nods silently. Nezu hums softly as he readies some tea for them, and Aizawa as well before making his own cup. He takes a few slow sips and Izuku's about ready to snap with how tense he is when he sees the mammal set his cup down with a click and smiles at them. So, he says simply, Aizawa-kun here says you would like to transfer into the Horrocks department. Yes, Nezu-sensei. Izuku nods, and Hitoshi nods silently. Again, Izuku manages to take a sip without his hand shaking and sloshing the tea all over the rim. Barely. Hitoshi doesn't even glance at his cup. Of course, Nezu says with another smile. Now, normally we don't just allow anybody to transfer. Nezu starts off, and Izuku feels his heart skip a beat before he continues. They of course have to be sponsored by a teacher, who then needs to be put in some time to train with them to the standard to enter the heroics course, after which they then need to take the exam to show that they've proven enough since the sports festival to join the classes. Nezu states. Izuku wants to curse at another hoop to jump through. But he's more than willing to jump if that means he can be a hero student. That sounds reasonable. He gets out and feels how tense Hitoshi is beside him. I'm glad you agree, Nezu says with a shiny smile and takes another sip. Now, Shinzo-kun, Aizawa-kun has offered to sponsor you to the heroics department. And Midoriya-kun, Yamada-kun has offered to sponsor you into the heroic department as well. So, that part is well in hand. As well, they have assured me that you are both well trained, have done so for 3 years under their league, which handily waves away the training part, essentially with the performances you both gave on the sports festival. Nezu explains, and Izuku nods. Normally, we would then have to take an exam at the future time and date, and then once a spot's open in one of the classes, you would be placed in the class and go from there. Nezu explains, and Izuku feels the but coming. However, considering that you both, the gold and silver medalists of the year's sports festival, I believe I am well within my rights to waiver the exam portion of the requirements, he says cheekily, and Izuku deflates a bit in shock. Really? Hitoshi finally speaks up. Indeed! You both showed the qualities we are looking for in our hero students. The same qualities we look for in transfer exams to determine if transfer students will be a good fit in the program. It would be redundant to test you on something we're already aware of. Nezu waves off, and Izuku feels his heart speed up again. So, what happens now? Izuku asks softly, not daring to hope. Nezu nods. Originally, we only had one available spot for you for a transfer student to take. Now, normally that would have gone to Shinzo-kun as the gold medalist, and Midoriya-kun you would have been placed on the waiting list. However, we happened to have a sudden transfer this morning from one of the classes in general educational program, so it seems we have a spot available for both of you, he exclaims with a grin, and Izuku lets out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Really? He asks, hand shaking with relief. Of course, Nezu says with a nod. In fact, both spots happen to be in 1A under Aizawa-kun tillage. Thus why he is here. Aizawa-kun, do you accept both transfers into your class? Nezu asks. Aizawa turns dark eyes onto the two of them, and then a small smile breaks across his face. I do. He nods, and Nezu chuckles. Very well, Shinzo-kun, Midoriya-kun. Welcome to the heroics program. Now, we'll just need to fill out some paperwork. Midoriya-kun, you'll need to get your mother's signature to confirm the transfer. Shinzo-kun, your parents have already signed off the transfer, he says, with a knowing look at Aizawa. As well, you'll need to submit your costume designs before the end of the week so the support company we work with can create them. I've told you have commissioned Hatsumi-san from the support course to make you some support gear for you, he says, and they both nod, too relieved to say anything as words sink in. Good. Miyajima-kun will get the gear and the required documents to the company to go over them. refine them, and then recreate them into a specimen applique to fit your costume request. I believe that is everything. Aizawa-kun, can you help with the necessary paperwork and get your uniform for the hero course? Nezu says brightly with a clap of his hands to indicate the finale of the meeting. Thank you, Nezu-sensei, Izuku says, nearly breathless. Bowing low, and Hitoshi copies him, murmuring his thanks too. Nonsense! You two did all the hard work. I merely signed some forms and arranged it so the two of you could have a seamless transfer. You should be proud of what you've accomplished in such a short time, and I greatly look forward to more of what you accomplish in the future. Nezu says brightly and sincerely. Standing, they accept the forms from him that he hands over and with one final bow, follow Aizawa out of the office. They wait until they get far enough away before letting out sighs of relief. Oh gods, Izuku murmurs in relief, leaning against the nearby wall. You did that on purpose, Hitoshi accuses his dad, who merely smirks at them sadistically. Merely a logical ruse to ensure your appreciation of what has been handed to you. He simply states. Tell that to my poor heart, Hitoshi murmurs, and Izuku snorts. Come on, problem children. We have things to do, Aizawa says with a huff, and they quickly stand back to follow him. He leads them away from Nezu's office into a different area until he unlocks a door and leads them into a storage area filled with uniforms. It's not hard to find the Hero Course jackets in their size, 2 each, and he tells them to return their Gen Ed jackets after they've been washed. They both nod. He takes them to his office. Apparently someone is covering his homeroom this morning. And he walks them through filling out the transfer paperwork so it's all correct. Izuku will have his signed tonight and brought back in the morning. Then he's dismissed for the day, saying that they could take the train home or stay on campus and wait for the ride. He suggests they start working on their costume designs now and get them in sooner rather than later. They both decide to remain on campus for the day to do just that, with their plans to meet up with May at lunch to go over the support gears and ways it could be integrated into their hero costume designs. Aizawa lets them go with a reminder to not do anything stupid, and then he heads to his class, leaving them standing out in the hall. They wait until he is long gone before Izuku looks at Hitoshi. Toshi, we're in the heroics program, he whispers. We are, he says, sounding just as dazed as Izuku. With a grin, he grabs Izuku's arms and starts towing him towards the library. Come on, we gotta get cracking on our costume design. If Dad says get it done soon, he means it. He reminds Izuku, and the teen nods, eagerly following to the library, ideas already spinning through his head. What do you think? Izuku asks Mei later that day as they sit outside eating lunch. Hitoshi is just basking in the fact that all their hard work finally paid off. Yes, they might be starting a bit behind the other hero students, but they'll catch up no matter what it takes. Mei glances over the rough sketches Izuku had drawn up for their costumes. Hitoshi had let him do it, well aware of how aerobatic his drawing skills are. On 2 pages of sketch paper are 2 fleshed-out costume designs with tiny notes and comments written nearly for the costume designers. Hitoshi is fairly simple. He wanted to do a bit of a homage to both his dad's and their own costumes for a while now. So the main body is a similar jumpsuit style to Eraserhead's costume, though a bit tighter around the arms and the lower legs. Heavy steel toe boots, arms and shin guards, reinforced fingerless gloves, a utility belt with lots of pouches, and padding placed strategically at various points to protect from falls or hits. A hood is added with a subtle purple-pink pin strip with an extra panel that zips up in front of his face to cover his mask, voice changer. The jumpsuit also has a higher neck with padding to protect his throat and hide the throat changer. Over it all is a simple black leather jacket, similar in cut to Sashi's present Mike jacket with hidden panels of body armor sewed into it. Protective, but breathable and easy to move in. All it needs is a capture scarf and a few other tools, and it would be awesome. Izuku had gone a different direction. He'd taken his Mockingbird name to heart. The whole dark stone gray cloud with darts of lights, grays, and pale browns here and there to highlight parts of the costume, while a subtle feather pattern is sewn into the parts of the costume. The bottom consists of heavy-duty combat pants, with lots of pockets tucked into similar steel toes like Hitoshi's. The upper part is a long-sleeve shirt that zips in the front, sewn with hidden armor panels and a patterned high collar to protect his neck, and covered his support gear when needed. A reversible three-quarter jacket goes over top. The inside, plain black with a hood to cover his hair, and more hidden body armor. A utility belt, also like Hisashi's, wrapped around his waist, along with similar slim, and arm guards for protection. Fingerless gloves, and a wrist attachment to adjust his support gear that can also use to record Izuku's quirk if he needed to send something he heard. His neck piece, once May finishes it, will be much smaller and slimmer than Presence Mike's own directional speakers. It'll wrap smugly against his neck, with discrete speakers hidden in it, with small resonating rods for Izuku to direct his quirk into, so he could send his voice through the speaker and let him throw his voice further or make it louder as needed. The earpiece will be nearly invisible in his ear, with various functions once May gets done with them too. "These look amazing," May said excitedly. She scans over the notes and comments. "Good details. And instructions, too. That would help them design what you're looking for," she adds with a nod. Izuku flushes and grins. "Thanks. I was trying for something easily understood after hearing you mutter about vague descriptions," Izuku explained, and she nods with a crackle. "Yes, well, we support people pride ourselves in delivering what the customer wants, no matter how vague, but," she adds with a bright, near manic grin, "I'm nearly finished with your gear," she says excitedly. "Really?" Hitoshi asks. "Yep, I got really inspired after the festival and seeing your quirks in action, and I thought the weekend to figure it out, the last tricky bits. You should come after lunch to support, and we could test them out, yeah?" she asks, nearly vibrating with excited energy. "Definitely," Izuku says, with Hitoshi nodding eagerly. "May, you're amazing," he adds. "All in a day's work, Green Bean, but just make sure to tell everyone where your gear came from, and we'll be even. That, and make sure no one works on it but me. You hear?" she adds, with a finger wag. "We promise," Hitoshi says eagerly. They finish their lunch and follow her back to the support, where Powerloader waves at them distractingly as they follow May to her workstation. Taking the completed gear to one of the testing rooms so they could try them out, May writes down notes about fits and feels and how well it handles their quirks. The other teams wear noise-canceling headphones when Izuku uses his quirk to project their ears. Hitoshi, with May's permission, uses Izuku's voice to brainwash her with both his mask voice changer and neck voice changer. I can definitely hear the hum through the voice changer. Resonator rods to pick up in sonic sound waves were definitely the right way to go, Izuku admits, once Hitoshi finished testing out his gear. "It would have taken me longer to figure it out if I wasn't already using them for your green beans," May explains with glee. "When you explained the hum, mine went into overdrive, and after that boom finished," she adds gleefully. "My babies are so cute, aren't they?" she adds. "They're awe-inspiring, May," Hitoshi says seriously. "Oh, that reminds me," May says, turning to them. "I took your ideas for my first baby of the school year and went full stealth with them," May explains, holding out what is probably a finished prototype of the metal ball she had thrown at them the first day they met. They're nearly silent and small enough to be hard to spot. I'm still figuring out the light refraction for invisibility, but you can, add them to your gear. I can have them adjusted to work with your gear. I can make you a control panel too, Sleepy Cat, so that you can control them. Good for cover ops, she says gleefully, petting her baby before pressing a button, and its wings spring open with a soft snick, and then begin to beat its wings silently. Izuku can pick up the hum, but even then, it's very soft. So, spy cameras? Hitoshi says, and Mei nods eagerly. May you spoil us, Hitoshi says with a grin, and Mei whoops. I'll finish cleaning up your gear and add the stealth drones as well to your gear, Mei says eagerly. Are you turning in your costume designs today or tomorrow? She asks. Probably today before we go home. Do you need us to wait? Izuku asked. Oh, no, I should be able to finish this all up by today. And Maji-sensei will help me get all the paperwork filled out to submit for the review by the support company. Mei waves off as she lends them back to her workstation. Okay, Izuku says, and sits down next to her for a few minutes to add extra notes to both sketches about the gear and how it should fit with the design of the costume, as well as adding an extra bit about getting a similar weight attachment for Hitoshi so he could control the stealth drones, as well as various other functions. You could use it as a database for various voices to sync to your voice changer, so you don't have to rely on anyone in fighting to have a voice. You can just pull up a pre-recorded one, Izuku explains. Oh, nice. Smart thinking. That'll help me if they already know my quirk and my voice and won't talk to me, Hitoshi says with a grin. Exactly, Izuku says, and finishes up the last of his notes. Anything you think I should add? He asks Mei, who's fiddling with Hitoshi's neckpiece. She glances over in one last time. Nope, looks good. They'll add questions if you want any clarification and can update it later if you need something to be changed, Mei says with a shrug and goes back to her work. All right, we'll leave you to your work, Mei. Thank you again, Izuku says, grabbing his sketches and stuff to follow Hitoshi out. Mei waves distractingly, humming under her breath. We've still got a few hours until class is let out, Hitoshi speaks with a grin. And I don't know about you, but I'm full of energy right now. Want to do some extra training? He asks Izuku. Please, Izuku says with a grin, and they change course to change into their gym clothes to find an empty gym to work out in. They turn in their hero costume designs that afternoon after working out for a while to burn off excess energy. Aizawa nods approvingly at the costumes and notes, signing off them and taking the paperwork so they're filled out with their measurements to send to the support company to use, as well as any limitations or requirements needed. Yamada laughs when they glare at him and accuse him of trying to give them a heart attack or stringing them along like he did that morning, and hugs them, congratulating them on making it to the hero course. Though he says he'll miss them in his class. Izuku goes home to tell his mother the good news, and they celebrate that night, going over the paperwork, a thick packet of papers, stating his transfer to the heroics department, the various liability waivers, and a costume budget that states what is covered by UA and what is paid for out of pocket. He's worried they won't be able to afford some of it, but his mother assures him that they can, and he nods. She also pulls out a gift for him. This is somewhat a collaboration between myself, Aizawa-san, and Hisashi-san, Inko admits, with a small smile. They helped me figure out what I need to know and gave me people to contact about having it commissioned, she explains as she hands over a small dark metal cast. Mom? Izuku asks, throat tight. Well, go on, open it, she encourages, and Izuku swallows and nods with a grin before checking the buttons on the latch, and the lid pops open. There, nestled into a form cut to its shape, is a narrow rod of dark matted metal. Tucked into the lid is a small booklet. Izuku carefully picks up the rod, brows going up because it's heavier than he expected. When he pulls out the booklet, he finds instructions for a collapsible staff. "Mom?" Izuku whispers. "Go on, try it out," Inko says excitedly, and Izuku nods, checking the instruction for how to activate it, and then stands from the kitchen table to get the space and twists the part of the rod. It slides effortlessly and with a click and a hiss. The end shoots out into a full-length staff. Izuku heps and finds the weight is what he's used to in the staff when he's training with Yamada-san, and the balance is perfect, resting comfortably in his hand. "Do you like it?" she asked. "I love it. When did you get this commission?" he asked, looking over with wide eyes. "At the beginning of the school year," she explained. "I talked to Hisashi-san and Shota-san about ways to help and support you, and they explained about getting Hitoshi his own capture scarf when he got into Heroic's apartment, and I decided you needed your own gear too, and they helped me figure out what to get. He should be getting a scarf right now, too," she adds with a grin. Izuku twists the selection to the opposite direction, and it retracts into its compact form, settling it back down into the case. Izuku walks over and hugs his mom. "Thank you," he whispers huskily. "You're welcome, sweetheart. I know things haven't been the easiest, especially after your father left, and it was just us. But I want you to know I'm proud of you, and I love you so much. I'd worry constantly, but I'll also support you, okay?" She promises. "I'll try to keep you from worrying too much," Izuku promises back, and she nods. "Toshi and I will watch each other's back, and Yamada-san and Izawa-san will keep an eye on us too when you can't be there," he adds. "Good," Inko says. Now, let's finish out filling out these forms and get started on dinner." She instructs, and he nods, helping her fill out the last of the transfer forms, and then helping out to make dinner. That night, before bed, he calls Hitoshi, and they both scream, near silent to each other, and show off what their parents got them. Oh my god, I don't know if you noticed, I don't know if it's like noticeable in my voice, but in the line where Inko is just like, I'd worry, but I'm proud of you, I love you, that whole little speech, little two-liner, I started to tear up as I was saying it, because like, Inko is such a loving mother. Like, look, she's made her mistakes, but Inko through and through, that woman did nothing wrong. She is a saint. What was that? She did one thing wrong? Well, clearly, maybe, that didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. The one thing she did wrong was her reaction to Izuku being quirkless, specifically when Izuku asked her if he could still be a hero. That was maybe not her finest moments, but you know what? I forgive her. We forgive her. In this household, we do not hate Inko, alright? Inko is a saint. Hashtag support Inko. I love Inko, but yeah, they did it. I can't. I was so worried because I'm like, I don't know. I was worried because, in the tags, it's General Ed, Izuku, and I was worried. And hurt comfort is something. Emotional hurt comfort is something. So I was a tad bit scared that they weren't gonna make it, or like one of them was gonna make it or something. I don't know. I was scared, but at the same time I was like, they could make it, but at the same time I'm like, I'm scared. This one is a bit late because I had errands to run, and yeah, literally I got home like after a long day of not being home since 7 a.m. Actually no, since 6 a.m. And I got home, I sat down, and instead of relaxing like a normal person, I sat here and I recorded. Mainly because I wanted to know what happens and if they got in. The whole time I was worried. The whole day is like, are they gonna get in? Should I read ahead? No, I'm not gonna read ahead. But I could. But I'm like, no, I'm not gonna read ahead, and I'm happy I didn't. I'm also upset at myself for not. I put myself through that stress. But as always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.